because he did take that Forge Fast Expand, he doesn't have that many units or doesn't have that much natural defense in his home. And then the Protoss player ends up running off of one base on very, very limited real estate and not having enough room to really warp in any additional buildings.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna get underway in just a moment here. It's gonna be CheckSix Shadow with CheckSix up 3-1 up against vVv Titan. Titan spawning as the red Zerg in the northeast corner here. And we have CheckSix Shadow spawning as the yellow Protoss in the southwest corner. So we will have the full cross positions here. You know, typically we do have the east-west split, but now we have the north-south as well. So I think Titans usually goes for that pool first. Not sure whether he will go gas as well, but likes to be safe with that pool against any sort of cannon play.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll see. I think we'll see Titan go for pool first and then quickly or go into that hatchery as soon as he's able to train up 4 Zerglings as well, making sure to be able to push back any sort of proxy pylon. We can see Shadow opening up with that low ground pylon, which has become just so standard here on Shakura's plateau. And what this one probe is going to do, the probe is going to take a look around and see if his opponent is going to go for a spawning pool first or a hatchery first. If he sees the hatchery first, he'll most likely respond with a nexus first. If he sees the spawning pool, he'll most likely get the forge and then go for cannons and then try to go for that nexus. And it's really one of the ways that Protoss can respond and react to their opponent and say, you know what, your options are very limited early on in the game, and I pretty much have the proper counter to whatever you're going to try to do.
Yeah, definitely. Basically a build order counter. You see that pool's coming in. You know that players can put on a little bit more pressure. Also, the gas is important too. If you see gas started right away with the pool, you know that he can get across the field very quickly. So I need to get up a cannon as soon as possible. Without the gas, those lings going to be very slow getting across the field, and maybe a later cannon will just be enough, or maybe a delayed cannon with a zealot wall off. A lot of different options depending on the build. So that initial probe going to be getting a lot of important information. And right now he will just be patrolling, trying to prevent that fast hatchery from going down. He saw that the pool was about to finish and no gas was up for Titan.
Yeah, so no gas is up. He knows that the run speed is going to be pretty much limited, and Shadow opted to go for a Nexus first, even though he did see the early pool. We also see the Forge now coming in, and the Forge does take a little bit of time to complete, and then followed by the cannon as well. It looks like the probe once again gonna stick his head back up the ramp. A drone is now making its way down. Those 4 Zerglings will hatch in just a moment, as the drone is going to be able to grow up and be a hatchery, but he is about 55 seconds behind. So unfortunately for Titan, Shadow does have an economic lead, and with the additional chrono boost as well, will be able to get even more probes early on in this game.
You will see 3 links pushing across here and another trying to find that probe. That probe's hidden in a nice place. I don't think he will be found right away. Another probe being sent out. So these 3 links going to be seeing the front door. The photon cannon going to be finishing just in time. These links not going to be able to do any sort of damage even to the shields of these units. And we see Titan knows now that a Nexus is already finished, and we'll see whether he does the fast tech here, though he has no gas to really support that, or whether he goes for a quick third.
Yeah, so a little bit nice by Shadow. Shadow made sure to cancel that gateway. The gateway was canceled and then able to warp in a Cybernex core right behind it. So there was a little bit of mineral loss there, but not very much. And now we see Titan going for that third base, which is very, very important. And it's pretty much the counter to the Forge Fast Expand, saying, you know what, Protoss, if you're gonna go for a Forge Fast Expand, I can go ahead and go for another hatchery as well. And then this is almost like a progression right now where we may see perhaps a Stargate. Stargate is the proper counter Stargate is the proper counter as you're able to train up Void Rays. Void Rays are both good for harassing, but also very effective just in case your opponent tries to get in a lot of roaches on your front door.
Shadow really doesn't have the gas to support that, just now finishing the 150 gas that would be required for that Stargate. He did start his Warp Gate tech, so might be going for some sort of gateway timing here, though he hasn't started +1 or any other upgrades on his Forge yet, but he is adding a third and fourth gas, so Titan's going to see those gas getting started. He's going to know that a very techy play coming from Shadow, already on 4 gas at the 6-minute mark, and Titan just now adding gas and just now saturating. He will have 2 gas up and running, So I imagine his first priority is going to be speed, take back map control from the Protoss player, and then we'll see what sort of tech he decides to go for.
Yeah, right now he may decide to try to defend just a little bit more. I think he should really be training up a lot more queens. Any type of harassment that would be coming in from Shadow right now can easily be pushed away by queens. Queens are good at dealing with Void Rays, and also with a map like Shakuras Plateau where there's so much real estate, you want to get a lot of creep tumors in order to have that faster movement speed and get around the map very quickly. Titan still not without metabolic boost, finally gonna get it started. I think no, he has not started it yet, opting to go for tier 2 first. So what do you think of this delayed metabolic boost?
That's interesting, and I wonder if that came with some sort of scouting information. He saw that Forge was not getting any sort of upgrades, so maybe a gateway push was not going to be coming. You definitely need speed finish by the time the gateway push does come, whether it's a 6 or 7 gate, to get nice surrounds and take down retreating units. But it is going to be double Stargate, and Titan didn't see these Stargates, but he saw the fast gas. He knows that something really techy is coming. So it's either going to be some sort of DT play, though we didn't see any gateways either to support that, or it could be Stargates. And the proper response for both of those is going to be Spore Crawlers spread around. He's already has 2 Spore Crawlers about to finish at his third, and 1 in both his main and his natural, as well as an Overseer finishing in his main. So he's going to be well defended against any sort of cloak or any sort of airplay coming out from Shadow.
Yeah, I would still like to see a little bit more, a couple more queens, just because the queens are a little bit more mobile, and those creep tumors are definitely going to help you to be able to transition and move around the map. You want to start to split east versus west as soon as possible. Double Stargates is going to be double Void Rays or quad Void Rays moving across the map, and we'll see whether that's going to be effective as we are now also going into a Spire, so it is going to be perhaps Corruptors in order try to counter those Void Rays, but those Void Rays do deal a lot of damage to Corruptors. Mutalisk perhaps the better call there, as the Mutalisk are light units, but then again, Mutalisk do not come cheap either, so both is going to be a very, very difficult engagement.
Yeah, I actually like Mutalisk a lot against double Stargate. Typically, they invest in a lot of Void Rays, and as long as your macro is doing okay, as long as you have a ton of gas, you can overwhelm that initial force of Stargate units. As we see that Titan floating about 1,000 gas, so as soon as that Spire finishes, he's gonna have a ton of Mutas coming out, and unless microed perfectly by Shadow, the Mutas are gonna be able to take down any sort of Phoenix which come out in low numbers, and definitely these initial Void Rays. These 4 Void Rays making their way into the third, going to find at least these 2 Spore Crawlers, and Titan's going to have to micro here with these Queens and try to do some sort of defense. 10 Corruptors on the way for Titan, though.
Yeah, 11 Corruptors now underway, as the Void Rays are going to perhaps try to take down all of this, and now going after the hatchery. Titan not getting enough Queens, as I mentioned earlier. But we are going into mass Corruptors, and the Corruptors are now making their way out. The hatchery not going to be completed, and Titan really, really hurting at these 4 Void Rays and 3 Phoenixes. Another Spore Crawler was completed just in time, but now in come the Corruptors, and I think this is going to completely catch Shadow off guard.
And the Corruptors didn't lose their charge there, so they're going to be fully charged against these armored Corruptors, so they're going to be able to focus them down quickly, but just too many Corruptors here. Those Phoenix basically do nothing against the armored 2 Corruptors, so Titan's going to be able to clean this up, but not before losing that hatchery. So I think Titan definitely needs to expand at this point, and he can't put any sort of counter pressure on with these Corruptors like he would be able to do with Mutas. So instead, I think he just, at this point, needs to macro, maybe get up a third and a fourth, and try to drone up. We see Shadow floating a ton of minerals. He's got 1,000 minerals, so he's going to be doing some sort of gateway transition. He's got 4 about to finish in his main. This is going to give him 8 total, I believe, and a Twilight Council, so could go into some sort of blink play, mass gateway play, so we'll see what sort of transition he comes with.
Yeah, I'm not quite too happy with Titan going into this many Corruptors. The Corruptors did stop the threat, but right now, his army is essentially useless. He can't catch up to the Phoenixes. He cannot... Shadow's not going to give him any more Void Rays to hunt, so what is he going to really do? All he can really do is just scout with these Corruptors and hope to deal damage. And you can see that the Phoenixes would try to engage there, but the Corruptors do outrange them, 6 compared to, I believe, 4. So the Corruptors do have decent movement speed as well, so there are going to be Mutalisks as well now being added. But this is just a rather strange scenario where Titan has a lot invested in an army that really can't do very much.
And I actually don't like the Mutalisks here. Munis in low numbers, and he is just working off these 2 bases at the moment. Can't really do well against 8 gateways worth of Blink Stalkers. Blink about halfway done. I did like the Titan got up his third and fourth very quickly, and he actually got up a nice round of drones. So he's at 74 drones. He's in a position where he can macro up, but would have really liked to see just a ton of speedlings coming out to try to counter these Blink Stalkers as they do push out here. And Shadow doing a nice job with these Phoenix. Might be able to take down a Queen here, or at least an Overlord or two. Focusing down one Queen, there it goes. And now these Phoenix going to see that the Mutas are out on the field. These Mutas have to run away. And Shadow able to escape there with all these Phoenix alive and still being annoying and effective with them.
Yeah, Titan does have a slight food advantage right now, but the food advantage is pretty much nullified by the fact that 14 of the food is in corruptors right now. We are getting a lot more drones, so I guess if the game does go long, we are now just seeing Shadow establishing up his third base. So Shadow has to be very careful. If Shadow engages and has a very poor engagement, his third base could easily fall apart. Zergling's now trying to swarm in this location over here without any roaches, though. Hydralisk now being added without the movement speed upgrade. Or, excuse me, this is not Heart of the Swarm, as the Hydralisks are now being forced to pull back. A lot of force fields coming in, and those Hydralisks are now backing off here, moving very, very slowly since they are off of creep.
And look how many Hydras are coming, 12 Hydras. So he knows that there's Colossus tech is not yet finished. The first Colossus on the way, so none have hit the field yet that Titan scouted. So to basically defend against this first push here coming out from Shadow, the Ling Hydra is going to be so effective against the Stalkers and the Immortals, and I think that Shadow knows that he needs to pull back here. He definitely needs to wait before for those first few Colossi to come out. He needs to get this third saturated, and checking out the Harvester count, it is 79 to 60. So Titan lost that first or that third hatchery there, but I feel like he's recovered nicely here, and we see the Corruptors might be sacrificed here. A few Corruptors going down there quite slow. The Blink Stalkers taking those down, and now Shadow posturing for an attack.
Yeah, we are getting 11 Hydralisks, 10 Zerglings, Infestation Pit about to be completed as well. And now Shadow really needs to figure out. I think Shadow is just confused as to what exactly Titan is doing. Going into mass corruptors, by going into mass corruptors, it kind of deterred Shadow to get any Colossi. You can see that the robotics bay has been in play for quite a while, but now just starting the extended thermal lance range. And now Titan very, very happy. He's sitting at 200 food. He has the harvester advantage, but will he be able to capitalize on this is the key question. He has a larger army, and I believe we should be going into Hive Tech in just a moment in order to get a little bit more mileage off of those Broodlords, as those Zerglings are now trying to swarm in as well. One Zealot does get taken down there, but there is also an Immortal, but that Immortal is not going to be able to do very much either.
And we have a late game hallucination coming from Shadow, so I'll be interested to see. He's got quite a few sentries with full energy here. If he, here comes the first few Phoenix he's going to hallucinate. If he hallucinates some Colossus here, it could really make it tough to focus down the correct few for those Corruptors that Titan has. We do see the Hive coming out for Titan. I think that's a good play. Using these Corruptors, transforming them into Broodlords could be very powerful, but Shadow sees that the Hive is on its way, and I think that Titan might try to get down a fifth here to try to support this Hive Tech. He is using quite a few of his minerals to get down a line of Spine Crawlers in the center of the field, but he can't really go half and half with the Protoss player, as he needs to stay bases ahead of him. Titan about to be maxed out at 199. We'll see whether he does some sort of attack here to lighten up some of his supply so he can get out Broodlords.
Yeah, right now he is sitting on a bunch of Hydralisks, but the Hydralisk may just be a little bit of a feint. The Hydralisks are only upgraded 0-1, and you can see that the Claw upgrades have been completed. So I really think he's going to be trying to transition into Broodlords. We see a Dark Shrine now coming in, and this is not your typical Zerg versus Protoss. Hydralisks are rarely ever seen. Corruptors are never trained at 11 at a time before a Colossus enters the field. And I don't know, and I do not know how to predict this particular matchup any longer.
Yeah, interesting. Titan actually has a few Zealots with him as well in the form of changelings marching along with this army, and I'm not sure if I like this this engagement by Titan. He's off of creep here with these Hydras. There are a few Colossus, and we do have these quite a few of the hallucinated units here for Shadow. A few Fungals and Overseers moving into position as well. We'll be able to see those, and these Corruptors doing their best to focus down the Colossus, but they're focusing down the wrong one, so the wrong Colossus being focused down, and I'm not sure Shadow lost any real Colossus there, maybe just one, but 200 against the 129 of Titan, and that was a bad encounter for Titan.
Yeah, very bad encounter. 8,000 resource loss difference right now. You can see 8 Corruptors now being added, 11 Corruptors being added, as there are just so many Stalkers on the ground now, and the Stalkers are going to be able to pick it apart, but we are going very heavy into Zerglings as well. The Greater Spire has not been started, surprisingly enough, and there are a lot of Spine Crawlers in the center of the field, pretty much saying, yes, your Colossi and only your Colossi will be able to engage me here, as the spine crawlers are now just absolutely getting torn apart, but at least buying a little bit of time.
And I like that late game hallucinate, Crota. He was able to hallucinate those Colossus, and the wrong ones were focused down, so Titan was not able to get his money's worth out of those initial Corruptors. Right now, he still has a ton of Hydras, and he's got Lings as well, which are not going to do well against the Colossus. He's going to try to get a bit of a surround here, as here comes the attack. Force Field's going to prevent those Hydras from getting good position. No more hallucinate Colossus here, so the correct Colossus is going to be focused down by the Corruptors, and I'm not sure that Titan's going to be able to take this on 193 to 160. He will be able to focus down all the Colossus, but the double Stargates creating Void Rays, so we'll be able to focus down the Corruptors. We've got more Hydras and Lings on the way, and they will be able to be effective against the Stalkers and the Void Rays here now that there are no more Colossi on the field.
Yeah, and I don't know if you caught this, but a fleet beacon was warped in, and that means a mothership could be added. And I don't remember the last time I actually saw a mothership come into play, or perhaps even carriers. Perhaps Shadow wants to do, honor the carrier as much as he can in Wings of Liberty, as it will be removed in Heart of the Swarm. Back over here, Dark Templars quickly getting destroyed, but now you see another large engagement. Stalkers, Hydralisk trying to catch up against those Stalkers, able to pick off some of those units as they are on creep. But they are going to be forced to pull back as that creep has receded.
Yeah, once again, Titan getting off creep there, so he needs to pull back. He needs to actually spread some more tumors here. These Hydras will not be effective. He does have his Ultralisk Cavern up. He's got his Greater Spire complete as well, but he's really gas-starved at this point. He made all those Hydras a really heavy gas investment. He's got, wow, quite a few, 28 Hydras, so they will be good DPS. They don't have any range attack upgrades, though. So I feel like Titan really doesn't know what he wants to be going for at this point. He's just got a lot of Lings, Corruptors, and Hydras, not a a unit composition that we typically see in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely not, as we are now going into the Mothership, and Protoss with the Mothership is ever so deadly, especially with Blink Stalkers, as the Stalkers will be able to focus down any Overseer with just one round of attack, and then you can't attack any of the army except for the Mothership itself, and that's going to be a bit of a problem, as Overlords are now getting shot out of the sky as well.
And those were full Overlords. Titan was hoping to do a little bit of a Ling drop into the top of the base of Shadow, but Shadow saw that with his map control here and was able to focus those down. And he actually saw a few Lings following those Overseers, so he knows that they were probably full, as the Lings following Overseers usually means they were trying to get in there.
Yeah, most definitely, as we now see the Mothership about halfway completed. More cannons being added, Protoss air weapons upgrade, level 2 shield, Psystorm, just upgrades galore, and Shadow is going to make this last battle epic.
Yeah, it's going to be 200-200 in just a moment here. There are Broodlords, there are Corruptors, Hydras, and Lings, and we're going to have a Mothership popping out in just a moment. It's not going to have too much energy for those initial few spells that you'd like to cast with it, but he does have a nice balance of Colossi and Void Rays to try to take on the forces of Titan. I really like Shadow's position here. He's about to be on 6 bases compared to the 4, just now 5 of Titan, and Titan once again engaging off creep.
Yeah, this is not going to be good. There's not enough Corruptors in order to try to protect. Phoenix is now coming out to engage. They're going to get quickly shot down there, as the Broodlords are now doing a little bit of chasing. And we'll see what's going to be happening here, as the Broodlords are now starting to attack at the Nexus down over here. A very, very high Protoss death ball. Broodlords getting focused down. Broodlings now trying to swarm in. And where is that Mothership? The Mothership should be arriving, and there it is, cloaking so many of the units. The Overseers, I believe, are just close enough, as the Mothership just dealing, or just protecting so many of its units.
Yeah, one Overseer does go down, the second one very low health, and we saw that the Void Rays were able to clean up quite a few of the Broodlords, but the power and DPS of these Hydra Broodlord combination just ripping through these units, and the Overseer losing track of that Mothership for just a moment there, and I feel like that's going to turn this battle, as it allows the Protoss player to clean up the majority of those Broodlords, and now we see an immediate tech switch over to Ultras, so Ultra's going to do very well against Stalker, Colossi. It's not going to be able to take down the Mothership, so Titan needs to make sure that he always has overseers here.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very difficult as the Hydra is now backing off. This hatchery will get taken down as Shadow does have almost full upgrades on his Stalkers, 3-2-2 upgrades. Overseers now making their way over, getting a little bit too overzealous, trying to see what exactly is part of this massive ball, this mothership down to 98 shields and 62 hit points. But with the Ultralisk being added, this is going to be very, very interesting. The Ultralisk and the Zerglings are both upgraded 3-3, and more Ultras are still being added. Perhaps a couple fungal growths will reveal all of those units, allowing those units to, allowing the Ultralisk to deal some sort of damage as that Stalker Ball getting slightly ahead, and now Archon's being added as well. In comes the Ultralisk, and here we go.
I think this is a bad engagement once again for Titan, as all of his units going to be going into that vortex. He does get a few fungals off, and he's going to load up all of his units. But now with these Archons and all this AoE for Shadow, I think Shadow's going to be able to DPS this down quite effectively, loading in a few units of his own. Out come the units. The Ultras and the Lings going to do their best to retreat, it looks like. So Titan does not want to take this on, and now losing a number of Overlords as well. And Shadow pushing in with this mothership. Its shields have recharged. There's not a lot of anti-air. And there's the GG. CheckSix Shadow making it 4-1, taking the series, taking Wednesday Night StarCraft, and a great showing from CheckSix.